feeling very well. How are you? Can you hear me good?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can hear you very well. Thank
Oh,
you.
good. All right. Yeah, it's really weird. My laptop camera, it wasn't working. And so I had to pull out one of my other webcams so that people can see me and you can see me. And I can
Okay.
see you and all that. So that's why, yeah, it was like some like odd little thing. So I was like, well, it's a good thing I have a webcam that's like outside of my laptop. There we are.
Okay. I
Uh,
have to learn a little bit about that because every time I try to do it from my MacBook, it never works for me. So that's another area, another
uh,
conversation. So I just from my phone.
yeah. So okay, I am getting us on Facebook Live right now. So sorry for the delay in that.
No worries, no worries.
But, Alicia, I was listening to your podcast yesterday, and I really mean it when I say, like, in a large way, not 100%, but in a large way, you were telling my story in that particular podcast. I listened to a couple of other things that you did on your podcast, and and I could relate to it a lot. But that one in particular, and you know what, I shared that day. I shared with two other women that same thing that you said, which is, I hope I'm going to say this correctly, which was, what is in your cup is yours. What overflows from that is everyone else's. And I said
Absolutely.
that to two other women that day, and they looked at me like, and I was like, yeah, yes, that is a fact. And
Yeah.
you have to do that. You have to. And so yeah. All right. So let me get you on here now. All right. Okay. Alisha Small. Wow. I mean, really amazing, dynamic woman. Thank you so much for joining us here on WeConnect. I'm the host of WeConnect, Amy Uzunian, where we connect with how we are feeling and with each other and share our experiences and our stories, and the dreams that we have, and the challenges we've experienced, so that we can relate with each other and learn from each other. And it's so great to have you on this show today. I mean, really, I can't even, like, it's so wild. I found you on Instagram, and I was just like I was instantly really drawn into your authenticity, really, like your authenticity. And then when I went on your podcast, I was really drawn to your message then, like, I mean, I wasn't sure, like, okay, I was like, well, okay, what is, like, I love this story that she's sharing with me. But then when you got to that point where you said, mothers, especially, like,
Yes.
you are, the most number one person. And also the other thing was like, um, self-care, you have to take care of yourself. You can't expect anybody
Yes.
else to take care of that for you. And yeah, so welcome. And
Thank you.
I always ask people this question when we start because WeConnect, which is an app that I've been working on building and growing, the initial question from WeConnect is, how are you feeling? And I always love to have the most, comfortable and authentic, like real answer to that question, but whatever people feel most comfortable with. So how are you feeling?
I would say I chose to feel overjoyed today. And I use the word chose because everything is a choice. And I think that we underestimate the power of choice. And we don't always get up, especially as moms. I think you can relate. We were just talking about being a mother. And honestly, when I woke up, I said, I want to lay in bed all day. I want a day where, and I want this day to be where I just do nothing. Right. And so I knew I had a podcast interview. I'm a mom of 3, so that's not realistic. And so instead of choosing to sit in that, right, and then transferring that energy off to my children, and we know, like, they're so pure. So however I'm feeling, that's how they're going to feel. And that's a domino effect. I chose to say, you know what, gratitude, right? Those were my 2 favorite words all the time, but especially in the climate that we're in, grace and gratitude. Give myself grace because I am doing a phenomenal job as a woman, as a mother, just as a person, especially with everything that everyone has been through this year. And gratitude, I get to get up and see my children and be a guest on a podcast. Like, that's nothing to complain about. So let me get myself together, get up and do what it is that I have to do. So I made the choice today to be overjoyed.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you know what? I feel you, Alisha. Past couple of days, I've been like, I know I have a lot of things to do, but really, I just want to lay here in bed. I feel you on that. And it's like, yeah, and what helps me is, I can bring into my mind that yeah, okay, maybe let myself be here for a couple of 5 or 10 more minutes, and just like feel like, oh, okay, and like breathe. Yeah. And then I say, oh wow, yeah, I have this beautiful daughter. She's 4, and I get to interview you today, on this podcast, and I get to have this new life, which was gifted to me, I feel like I worked towards, having since May 2020. And, and I'm so grateful for that. And I'm so grateful to have found you on Instagram and and heard more and more of your message. And so what I wanted to ask you also is, what were you doing before you became the CEO and founder of the Living Fulfilled, company, and doing, like Keyz Kloset and, and all these ventures that you've been doing now, and what led you to the place that you're in right now?
So just a little bit about myself. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York. I'm here in Maryland now. We relocated during the pandemic, and I worked for the New York City Department of Education.
Oh,
You
okay.
making my 3-year-old. I have a toddler.
Listen,
so.
you know what? It's totally fine. I have a 4-year-old. Might see her later. I don't know. She's like, yeah, and she's off doing her own thing.
So I worked for the New York City Department of Education, and I worked with parents in grades K through 12, and it was more of an administrative position. And that was, I had just had my daughter. I have a daughter, one daughter, her name is Logan. She's 7. And at that time, the mindset that I had was, you know what, even though I know that this is not fulfilling me, I'm a little afraid. I'm afraid of going for my dreams. So I'm going to sit here at this desk and I'm going to not complain. And I'm going to be okay with working for someone else for 20, 30 years and then, get my pension, and that'll be okay. And I'll put my dreams to the side. My husband, I give so much thanks to my husband because he's the one that actually motivated me to start our first service-based business, which was Dreamer Transportation Service. And he asked me one day, he said, well, let me ask you something. How would you feel if you never, I'm trying to get the right words. He said, how would you feel if you just never went for your dreams? Like, how would that feel? Would you be okay with that? Or could you live with that? That's what he said. He asked me, could you live with that? And at that time, I was like, well, what do you mean? And he said, well, you only get one time to live your dreams. You can always get another job. And so it didn't stick right then and there. It didn't stick right then and there. Maybe I want to say a few months later, and I was thinking about it over the course of time, and I actually got upset. When he said that, and it, to me, in the mindset that I was in, it translated into, I think that when we operate in a state of fear, and for me, I lacked confidence at that time. I was dealing with a lot of personal development issues. So for me, that translated into he's shining light on an area where I'm not necessarily healed. So I'm going to get defensive, right? I'm going to get defensive. Like, what do you mean? I don't understand. But I thought about it over the next couple of months, and something had happened at my job, this is my story. I won't suggest anyone do this. Have a plan when you leave your job. Make sure you have a plan. Make sure you have a savings. When I left. I didn't have anything. Don't do what I did, but be inspired by it, but be logical and realistic and have a plan. And so to make a long story short, I wanted to leave my job early. I had to do something. And basically, my supervisor at the time told me, well, if you leave early, you would have to bring back a note. And if you don't bring back a note, basically they would start the process of letting me go, even though I had the time. So this was on a Friday. And so I thought over the weekend, and I was very frustrated and angry. And I said to myself, never again will someone have the power to just change the trajectory of me and my family's life. No one will have that power again. Right? Because if I didn't bring in a note, I can get fired. Then I have 2 kids at the time. I didn't have my youngest son. I have a brand new baby, and what are we supposed to do? This is all over, not having a note. So I said, you know what? I did come back to work on Monday. But I came with a resignation letter and I turned in my key card and I never looked back. We started Dreamer Transportation Service, which is a private van transportation service for children in public, private, and charter school. I started at my son's school, my oldest son, he's 14 now. And I said, okay, well, I didn't have a plan. Like I said, don't do what I did. Have a plan, but I knew that I wanted to, at that time, help parents. I wanted to help parents, kind of like in the situation that I was in, because just to give you a little recap, we were getting up at maybe like 4:30 in the morning. I had to travel all the way to the other side of Brooklyn to drop the kids off to my in-laws and then go to work and then come back and get them and come back to the other side of Brooklyn. So our days were like 11, 12 hours. And at the time I had 2 young children. And so not only was this physically tiring on me, physically and mentally tiring on me, it was physically and mentally tiring on my youngest son, my oldest son, who was at the time, I think maybe he was in the 3rd or 4th grade. Or 4th or 5th grade. And so, this is still a point of time in his life where he needs help with homework. And the whole scenario that goes on when you get home from work, you got to do homework, you got to cook, you have to do all of these things. And I said, it has to be something better than this. And I'm not the only mother or parent or 2-parent home or single family home that's going through this. How can I help myself? and how can I help other parents? What service can I provide to the community that's going to solve this problem that a lot of parents have? So that's how Dream of Transportation was birthed, for the parents, or the parent that couldn't be in two places at one time. They couldn't be at work at 8 and drop their children off at 8. And so that's what we did. We started in September of 2016. And at first it went really slow. And then I want to say about 2 months later, we got jammed with emails. There were children that lived outside of the district that needed transportation. And I started off, and again, guys, I started off with I think a 5-passenger car. I knew I had a car and I wanted to help, and I did it. So follow your dreams. It almost always works out, right? If you stay consistent. And then we got a lot of children, and then from the car, we got our first 12-passenger van, and then it just took off from there. Keyz Kloset started in 2019. I wanted to always have my own apparel line, especially when I had my daughter. It was initially supposed to start off as a kids boutique, but I was always passionate about, and I had always been a plus size woman. And so I was always passionate about making things that fit us. You know, I didn't like what was out there for plus size women. I'm like, I don't dress like that. You know, we don't dress like that. And then it kind of switched again. That fear factor came in. And because I didn't know how to sew, I didn't know how to sketch and draw. At that time, I really didn't have the right connections. So instead of, going out there, seeing what connections I already had in my close network, and finding a person that drew or sketched and all of those things, I just started off with the boutique, and I started off with a line of motivational shirts. And that came about because from the time that I started Dream of Transportation Services all the way up into the beginning of Keyz Kloset, I had invested in my own personal development drastically. And then during that time, I got really, really interested in the personal development of other women. And I'm like, I'm not the only one going through this. When I found my voice and I found the courage enough to tell my own story, I wanted to hear other people's stories. I got really interested in the mental health, the empowerment, and the advancement of women. And so I wanted to start off with these shirts, and I wanted to start off with something small to test the market to see if people would like it. And I remember having a business mentor, and I remember one question he asked me. He said, "How are you helping people?" This was pertaining to Dreamer at the time. So, how are you helping people? It's easy for businesses to just take, right? They want people to buy, but what is the bottom line? How are you helping? How are you serving? Right? Yes. And so I said, okay, well, and so I came up with these shirts, which I felt like, I put sayings that I felt like all women needed to hear, which were flawed and favored, right? We are all favored, we're all special, but we are also flawed, right? We have many flaws, which make us, in my opinion, perfect. Worry for what? I think as women, we worry about everything. We plan and we worry, and worthy. I think that's one of our, that's one of the things that a lot of women, we don't feel worthy in a lot of areas of our lives. So my goal was I wanted women to wear it and feel powerful, right? Our thoughts are powerful, our words are powerful. And if we think it, we see it, we wear it, ultimately we become it. So that's how Keyz Kloset came about. And then, just to the personal development, I got really, really deep into personal development. And then the Live and Fulfill company came.
Yeah. Wow. I just, and I read about Dreamer Transportation in there, and I didn't quite understand, like, what is this Dreamer Transportation? Like, what was the story behind that? And that's an amazing story, because like I can 100% relate to that idea of like having to get up super early in the morning, waking your kids up really super early in the morning, and like, the sun hasn't even come up yet and you're driving them to, some other place so you can get to work on time, and then working all day and picking them up and then coming home, and having to cook dinner and everything, and just feeling like, where's the time for myself, to exist, to be, and is this going to be my life forever? And just, being like, well, yeah, I guess this is everybody's life, right?
Right.
But, one thing that I wanted to share with you is something that I realized recently, is that the opposite of fear is love. And like, fear will block us off, from what we're meant, block us off basically from love, right? I mean, what made me think about this was really raising my daughter. uh I I learned, I understood my power in love in raising her, because there were moments when, yeah, I would be afraid. I would be like not sure of myself. But the opposite of that would be when I would be confronted with a situation and I would just act on it and know exactly what to do. And that's love,
Mhm.
really,
Yes.
you know? Yeah.
Yeah. It's so funny that you talk about love. And one of the things that I learned about love is that that's what connects us all, right? And like I'm sitting here and talking to you, and we come from different backgrounds, we are of different ethnicities, but I think that one of the things that we can all identify with is that we've been through something, right? Whether it's been childhood trauma or um, some sort of traumatic experience, or we've experienced something that the only thing that we wanted was, or something that we're going through right now, right? Maybe a challenge that we have in our life is from the lack of love or wanting love, right? And I think that love is the most powerful energy in the world. It can cure anything. And I think that that's the one thing, no matter what our differences are, we are connected by love. Either we want it, we're seeking it, we didn't have it. And even though we've went through these different experiences, what is the one thing that we all need? What is the one thing that we all need? Like I said, no matter what our gender is, what we identify with, ethnicity, background, whether we came from money or didn't come from money, what is the one thing that we all seek? And that's love. And that's what I use to connect to my audience. That's what I use to connect with the girls that I mentor, the women that I talk to when I speak. It's like, we all, that's one thing that we all want, no matter what, and that's love.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing that will keep us from connecting with people a lot of time, it's fear. Like, oh,
Yeah.
if I gave into any kind of fear, right, then I might, say to myself, well, this woman, Alisha Small, she doesn't know me, and what if she says no when I reach out to her and say, hey, I would love to have you on WeConnect, right? If I let that fear, take hold, then I'm not gonna send you a message and say like, hey, I really love what your message is and everything, right? And it's like, I heard what you said about, don't do what I did and not have a plan. But you know what? I think that we do the things that we're meant to do in the time that we do them, and that nothing happens by mistake, you know, like,
Right.
there is a plan for us in within the grand scheme of the universe, you know? Yeah. Yeah. And so when things come together and like happen, I mean, we work with it, but I mean, you made the decision that you made, and that was the best possible, that was the best decision that you could have made. And somebody else who feels that way in their hearts, who says like, I'm not going to let this job control my family and my life, you know, I'm gonna I'm
Yeah.
gonna I'm gonna take back my life, and have a good life with my family, because that's my decision. I say like, yes, do it, and like
Yeah.
believe in yourself, because the plans will like everything will fall, things come into place when they're really meant to. Anyway, so you said you were from Brooklyn and you're in Maryland now. Um,
Yes.
so do you have family in Maryland right now, or how did you get to Maryland through the pandemic?
Actually, I don't have any family in particular that are in Maryland. Actually, my mother's side of the family is from Virginia. My sister's in Virginia, and then I have some family that my mom is still in Brooklyn, and then my best friend is actually in Maryland. But how Maryland came about, I wanted to move. I think that with having children, and I was born and raised in Brooklyn, and I wanted the city life. I'm getting older. The city life wasn't for me, and I think that it was the best option for my children. At the time, I didn't know exactly where I wanted to move. Either January or February. No, January or February of 2019, I think it was. Either 2019 or 2020. No, 2019. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get the dates right. I did an interview. I had to do some business down in Baltimore, and I did an interview for Fox 5, talking about Keyz Kloset and women empowerment and everything that I was doing in that area. And when I came down, my best friend took me to like look at some houses and things of that nature. And it wasn't more so about the houses. It was just more so about, I was just riding around and looking at the scenery. And I said, okay, I came down here, I got called down here to do some business. And at that time, I was just trying to figure out like, where am I supposed to be? Where me and the kids are supposed to be? And it was like, okay, Maryland, that's it. And also at the time I was starting to do the research and plan to open my first brick and mortar. I knew that I didn't, even though we started off in Brooklyn in New York, with the online store, that's not where I wanted the first brick and mortar to be. And so when I came down, it was just like everything was connecting. And so I said, okay, Maryland is it. We're gonna have our first brick and mortar here. I wanted to be close to my first store. And so I said, when I came back to Brooklyn, I said, okay, let me research the best places as far as the kids are concerned. Let's start researching some places as far as the store is concerned. And we did it. Then COVID hit. And I said, okay, well, we won't be able to open the store in the time frame that I wanted to. And a whole bunch of things started to happen. I had some health scares. It was things that were going on in my personal life. And I said, okay, this at this point, I had to really lean on my faith and really lean on the skills that I had gained from investing in my personal development, because life happens. The pandemic just came. One day I was taking my kids to school. The next day I was homeschooling them, like literally. And it was a matter of, well, are we going to make this move? Are we not going to make, what are we going to do? And at the time, I was in a 2-bedroom apartment. We had really outgrown that apartment when I moved there. It was just me and my oldest son. And then I had 2 more kids after that. And I was just thinking, I'm like, wow, if I stay here, this is what could happen. If I go, this is what could happen as well. And I just said, you know what? Again, that leap of faith, I am like impulsive in a good way, not in a kid way, and impulsive in a good way. And so I did it again, and we moved, and it worked out perfectly. It worked out in our favor once again. And again, I am completely grateful for it. The kids adjusted well. I definitely adjusted well. We love it here. And even though as far as business is concerned, of course, in the midst of the pandemic, things are moving much slower, but they are movement. And of course, slow movement is better than no movement. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And everything in its own time, right? I guess. And it's good that we're able to still connect and have businesses, like in the midst of something like a pandemic, and that the online options do exist. So do you think that do you have an idea of a place where you want to have your brick and mortar in Maryland, like further down the road, or is that something you're like, I'm not going to think about it right now?
I've looked at a few places. It's always something that I'm thinking about, but one of the things that I learned, one of the biggest things that I learned in 2020, like you said, everything in its timing. I used to have a big thing about time, my time, right? I wanted things to happen in my time. And again, deeply investing in my personal development and my spiritual development. There's no such thing as my time. That's what I learned. It's no such thing as my time. And I learned that the more you rush things, right? You think that they're going fast, but you're actually slowing them up. And like I said, there were so many things that happened when we were thrown into the pandemic, when COVID came and we were thrown into the pandemic. I had 2 cancer scares. My marriage wasn't in a great place. Like I said, now I go from the kids being in school the majority of the time to me being with my children every single day. We're still in a pandemic over a year later, and I've been with my kids for literally every single day for all day for over a year. And we moved, we up and we relocated. So all of these things happen in the midst of the pandemic. And in addition to Keyz Kloset, I made a decision to completely stop Keyz Kloset. It was more important to me to continue to invest in my personal development at where I was at right now, because who I am as a woman is going to determine who I am as a businesswoman, who I am as a mother, who I am as a wife, who I am in all other areas of my life. So that's always very important to me. And I always want to give my audience, I want to give my husband, I want to give my children the best version of me, right? I want to give the girls that I mentor, the women that I talk to, even you, right? I couldn't sit here and talk to you if I had all of these other things going on that I didn't take the time to deal with. I think that, and I'm specifically talking to entrepreneurs, right? It's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day, and, we're thinking about, especially if that's your only source of income, we're thinking about the business and keeping it relevant, and sales and services and things of that nature. And we don't understand how personal development directly ties into entrepreneurship. Who you are as a man or a woman determines who you are as an entrepreneur, right? How you connect with your customers. If you have staff, how you lead, right? Your leadership, those all, how you problem solve, those are all personal development. And if you don't have those skills, you don't have a business. You can't connect with people. You can't especially in the line of business that I'm in. And so I took the time, I made a choice and I said, okay, I'm going to put this to the side while I deal with my health, while I deal with my marriage, while I deal with myself. And I'm going to come back an even better woman. And now I can put 1,000% into Keyz Kloset and the Live and Fulfill company and everything that I'm doing. And that's what I did.
That's, I mean, yeah, that sounds really, I mean, that's amazing. And it is so important to, you know, to take care of yourself and to show other people how you're doing that, you know, because then you are, it is the power of example, right? And so, you know, the podcasts that you did, you know, last year that I was listening to, I think that what I connected with the most was the idea of getting lost in, you know, like feeling like your self-worth is lost when you become a mother, and you know, and you're, you know, like, or you're a partner or whatever. And my story particularly was that, you know, I'm a single mother, right? And I could just feel like I was connecting with you in what you were sharing, because it was so honest and so vulnerable, you know. And so, like, was that difficult for you? I mean, because, you know, like, I mean, I've thought about that a lot for myself, like I am getting a little bit better with sharing my story of who I am and what my life has been, you know, with others. And I find that it's helped a lot of other people and women, you know, every time when I open up and I get very honest about, you know, my actual, like, my real story. And I felt like that was what you were doing in your podcasts, is getting very honest and real about your life, your decisions, and, you know, and the things that have led you to this point in your life now. So was that a difficult thing for you to get to that place where you'd be like, okay, I'm going to do this podcast and I'm going to, like, put out here the raw, honest truths of, you know, what my life really is?
Yeah, initially, by the time that I did the podcast, I was already in a place where I'm going to tell my story. I'm going to be authentic because there's a million Alishas out there, right? And if you're not particularly me, I want to always be relatable, and I always want someone to see themselves or a piece of themselves in me. So by the time that I did the podcast, yes, now the years leading up to that and investing in my personal development and my mental health, yeah, of course, it was really hard for me because, like I said, I'm a person that I dealt with childhood trauma. I dealt with lack of confidence and courage and self-worth and all of these things that I battled with. And once I made the connection that, okay, your mistakes, right? These things that you feel ashamed of, these things that make you feel unworthy. There's someone, maybe younger than you, maybe older than you, or maybe the same age, that's looking to hear your voice, right? It was so long where I was afraid of everything. I was afraid of my voice. Even becoming an entrepreneur, I had stepped out on faith and I started dreaming, but I was scared to talk about my business, right? And it like would literally make the hair stand up on my arms, like I would get hives, you know, and I was an introvert, I couldn't stand it. And when I took a deep dive, you know, into my own mental health, I got a therapist. And, you know, for the record, guys, I'm pro therapy. I think that everybody needs a therapist. That's just not for like, you know, you have to be extremes. For me, I'm high right now. I'm high achieving. So, you know, I have so many things going on. So right now, what I'm dealing with my therapist is to make sure that I stay balanced and working on things at my level, keeping it, I'm so sorry, keeping it, keeping a balanced life, and just, as I climb the ladder. So everybody is in different places of their journey, but wherever you are, I'm like pro therapy. I love it. I'm a coach who has a coach, and just growth and learning is a lifelong process. I will never stop learning, right? Because once I do that, that means I can't help people anymore. But to go back to your initial question, and once I made the connection that, okay, your confidence, right? And where that came from, the trauma that I experienced, where that came from, and how my confidence, my lack of confidence connected to all areas of my life. Well, I couldn't speak up about my business. And then in return, it's like a domino effect. It just wasn't my business that I couldn't speak up about. I couldn't speak up about my boundaries, right? I couldn't place boundaries. I couldn't speak up on relationships that I felt no longer served me. I couldn't speak up about my health. Right. And so once I saw that that was connected and I needed to heal that, I became like a wildfire. And I said, you know what? Somebody, at least one person needs to hear this. I know that there's so many Alishas out there, right, that needs to heal this. And my previous pain or my mistakes could be the difference between saving someone's life. In whatever aspect that may mean for whoever it is that I'm helping. So by the time that I got to the podcast, and even with making the podcast, I think the first episode was only like maybe 20 or 30 minutes. It took me hours to do it because this was something new. And I literally, somebody told me I should do a podcast. Like, they were like, you have a great voice, you have a great story. What kind of equipment do you have? And I said, I don't have any equipment. I never did a podcast. I have my phone. They said, okay, good. Do this, download this, and just start talking. And literally, I think maybe I started at 10. I didn't finish that 20 minutes until 2 a.m. And again, that's a fear factor of confidence. Do I sound good? Are people going to receive it? Are people going to like it? And I personally did the first season the way I did because I wanted people to get to know me. I wanted people to hear my story. I didn't want to have any guests. I wanted to connect with people or someone, right? And so I think that the parenting episode was like a few episodes down the line. By that time, I was really comfortable, but the years leading up to it and actually taping a podcast, yes, it was really hard for me. But by the time I actually taped it, it was like, okay, I've been through this. I healed from this. I have a certain period of growth. I think mothers need to know this because I know I'm not the only one going through this. I think mothers need to know this. And so there it was. And I sat literally, I don't even think I had a chair. I sat on my floor. They told me, like, you need something that your voice can bounce off against. And I'm like, okay, I think I was in my son's room, and I sat up against the wall and I just did it.
I mean, yeah, I definitely, I could feel that authenticity and, and just listening to your voice, like it was, I mean, you do have a really beautiful voice, and like, it's very soothing, like, yeah, I mean, that's one thing that drew me to you when I heard you on your Instagram post talk about how to have gratitude, like, and just the simplicity of it, like, get yourself a journal, write down these things, that you're grateful for. And then when you're doing your daily activities, such a simple thing. It's like, oh yeah. Like, I felt like you were like, you take the people in your space who are following you, you take them by the hand, you say, listen, you're going to be okay. Like, just, this is what, very simple thing. This is what you're going to do. And you're going to be fine. Yeah. And so I wanted to ask you also is, who have been some of your mentors who've led you into this space that you're in now? Like being Alisha as you are here.
I've had a lot of mentors, and I think that my definition of a mentor is anyone that you can learn from or learn from their mistakes that would lead you to be the best version of yourself. So I would say my mother, my sister, my grandmothers, God rest their souls, Annie Marie Hunter, and it was actually my husband's grandmother, Alisha Small. I have such a team of strong women around me, and just watching them and learning from them and learning from their mistakes, right? One of the things that I didn't do when I was younger was listen, right? So I think that we can all attest to that. And one of the things that my grandmother always used to say is that if you see a person run into a brick wall, why would you run into that same wall? You can learn from that. And so as far as I'm concerned, my definition is anyone that you can learn from or learn from their mistakes and come out a better version of yourself is a mentor. So I've had a lot of people that played a role in the woman that I am today. And like I always say, I think that I've just scratched the surface. I'm only 36. I'll be 37 in May. And so I have so much. Yeah, I have so much more to learn, and I'm so excited about it. But those are some of the people I've met. Some amazing people along my journey. My therapist, I've read some and listened to. I'm more of an auditory, so I like audiobooks. Anything that I can kind of like. You mentioned something about, I make things so simple. And one of the reasons why I do that, because as a mom, I think that the last thing we need is something else on our to-do list, right? So if we can incorporate it in what we're already doing, like every morning when I wake up, right? I show gratitude by thanking God that I had another day to live, right? And in some instances, people would think, well, that's not enough, but it's a lot, right? A simple thank you goes a long way, right? And you're already laying, you just open your eyes and just to say thank you.
Yes.
Right? And then if when I'm exercising, and so that was my whole idea behind that. But I look at it very simple for me. So I've learned from a lot of people, and the approach that I take right now is I try to find a learning experience in everything. I forget who I think it was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, where I read, my sister got me this book. She gifted me this book for Christmas. And he said something to the effect about know a little about a lot, right? And so I took that with me. I take that with me everywhere I go. So I'm always looking to learn something. I'm always looking to become better.
Yes.
Right? Not that there's a difference, right? Not that I'm not loving who I am right now, but I know that growth is a lifelong process. Like I said, the moment I stop growing, that means that I can't help anyone, right? On a smaller scale, like, what do I become? So I've learned to love who I am while becoming something better, and just love the process of becoming. We're always becoming something, right? What I want at 36, I'm not going to want at 46, right? I'm going to be somewhere else doing something else, or in another part of the world, right? And so what I am at 46, I'm not going to want at 50. So we're always becoming something, and just sitting in that and falling in love with that, and just falling in love with the journey. So like I nature until I moved to Maryland, and we're smack dead, and it's so scenic. And so we're smack dead in the middle of, like, everything is like forest, right?
Yeah.
And just, fox and, things like that. And so this is something else that I'm becoming. I just became a new plant mom, and I'm learning about that. And so I'm becoming so many more things, and I'm evolved, and I try to take a lesson from do this or don't do it. And anything like I said, like nature, anything I touch, or, what is this? How can I learn about this? My mind is always working.
Yes, yes, yes. You know what? I have been getting deeper and deeper into having a garden and planting things and learning more about having and keeping and nurturing, a garden. And it brings a lot of like excitement and enjoyment in learning those kinds of things. And I started to think about like, this is something that can be incorporated with, with what we do in our business, right? Like understanding like, okay, that the growth of your business is going to take time, and you can relate it to the growth of your garden, like clearing, like, okay, clear away all this stuff that's not needed in there, and then prepare for like you have really nutritive soil in there, that has lots of resources and nutrients in there, and then choosing the exact seeds that you're going to plant, where you're going to plant them, and and just all of that, and relating that back to like, okay, yeah, this is that is in a large way how you grow your business, like you take the time to like clear away all the nonsense and the noise, right? Okay, what's serving you, what's not, right? And get all of those other things out of the way, and then prepare your the space that is going to serve your garden best. It's how it relates so much in how you live your life and everything.
Yeah. I think that everything is connected. Like I was saying, once I realized who I was as a woman was connected to everything else, that's first and foremost. I am my biggest asset, me, my body, because I have so many jobs. I am the gas that keeps this car running. And so once I realized that I am my biggest asset, then that changed that shifted my mindset. I have to invest in myself. I have to invest in my personal development. I have to develop me, right? Because I have children that depend on me. I have a spouse that depends on me. I'm running a business. Now I want to become a personal development coach. So that's big business. People are looking for leadership. People are looking for you to help get them on the right to gain these skills that you are developing so that they can live a fulfilled life and they can go off and find their purpose. And you can help shift their mindset. I am doing all of these things. So that makes perfect sense that I take care of myself. I have to start with me, my mental and emotional development. Am I still dealing with things or traumas or things that I haven't healed from that is going to get in the way of connecting with someone, providing a service, raising my children, being whoever I need to be to my husband, my mother, my friend, just being a good person. I think that for me, success is I've learned. And for me, in my personal opinion, that my success is just being a good person. Yes. Being a good person. And, I think that I'm becoming successful like that. And with that foundation, I can do anything. I can, am here and I serve who I serve, but those people are going to get the best version, you know, of me. They deserve that. My children deserve it. My husband deserves it. Anyone who's connected to me deserve it. And most importantly, I deserve it.
Yes. Yes. Yes, absolutely. That's, I mean, 100%. 100%. Alisha, so you talked a lot about, like, health and wellness and mental health. Are there any things that, I mean, you've talked about so much, but I wanted to ask, like, are there any, like, mental health, like, or health and wellness things that you have incorporated in your own life specifically, that you can, like, share with us, like, mental health or health and wellness tips that you feel have been a real game changer for you that you can share with us? Yeah.
One of the biggest things I'll say again, I am a big mental health advocate. Therapy. Therapy has been one of the most life-changing decisions that I've ever made. I know that everyone is in a different place in their journey, and everyone has different battles and are at different levels. So, but I think that therapy is one of the things that everyone would benefit with, no matter what level that you are on. In addition to that, I have a routine, right? I being a mom of 3, I felt it very, very, very important for me to have a routine where I ground myself, I connect with God, my spirituality. I invested very heavily into my spirituality. So, like I said, being a mom of 3, I need that time before the kids get up, like an hour or 2 before the kids get up. And then, after they go to bed, to before I start my day, sit and connect and set my energy and intentions for the day. So as soon as I get up, and I immediately practice gratitude, and then I go into prayer. And then after prayer, I exercise, and then by that time the kids are getting up, and I have a 3-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 14-year-old. So once they're up, and then that's how it is all day. And so I go into my day, and then the reason why this is so important for me is because life happens. And it's not, everyone is, life's shoe can fit anyone, right? It's just things in life that happens, no matter what background you come from. I think I can say something, and I've been through that. It's just things in life that happens, that comes your way. And you have to have certain skills to be able to deal with that. I spoke earlier about that. Always get up and joy and smiling and happy or even grateful, right? That's a skill that you have to practice, right? Because things happen, bad things happen, right? And you have to know how to deal with that. That's where your faith and your personal development skills come into play. Well, how are you going to deal with this? Right? Are you going to be able to, or do you have a mindset? Or are you going to be able to deal with certain things that come your way, deal with certain troubles that maybe have to deal with any type of interruption? Because, okay, you get up and say, okay, I have this, especially car may break down, just life things, and how are you going to deal with that? Right. And so I have these personal development things in place so that I'm best equipped to deal with anything that comes my way. At least I try to be most of the time. I'm not perfect. So, and I have 3, and I'm a mom of 3, right? And I have a toddler. So,
oh God, yeah.
A little bit, right? So,
yeah. Yeah. 3, 4-year-old, it's the toughest. It's the rough.
Yeah, so those are some things that I practice daily to just keep me grounded, to help me handle whatever it is that may come my way, during the day, or something, a monkey wrench may be thrown in a plan. Okay, but what can I do? I try to be able to do this, but I can do this. So let's work it out this way. I'm saying that I live by, and it's be flexible about the road taken, never about the destination. I think that as women, we're such planners, like, okay, we got to do this, we got to do this, we got to do this. And when it doesn't happen that way, we're like in shambles, right? And you just pivot, right? We learned a lot about pivoting during the pandemic, right? And we just pivot, and we talked about divine timing and planning, right? It may not be that it was supposed to happen that way, and that's okay. That doesn't mean that you're not still getting to your destination, right? If your car breaks down, okay, your car broke down, you call AAA, or you may not have AAA. Well, let's fix this situation and get in the Uber. You're still getting to where you're going. You just had to take another route, and that's okay.
Yes. Yes, yes, there are so many different ways to get to from point A to point B in your life, and the destination isn't your final destination. So Alisha, if people want to find you to like have you, do mentoring, business consulting, personal consulting, where should people contact you to reach out to you for your services, and what particular services are you really like putting a lot of effort into offering right now?
Well, I am responsive. I love talking, as you can see, which wasn't always my strong point. But you give me the mic and I'll go on for days.
I love it.
I had to catch myself. So I am on media. I am on social media. I'm Alisha Small on all social media platforms. I just recently got a Clubhouse. I learned how to work Clubhouse. Clubhouse scared me at first because I'm like, oh my God, it's something else I got to remember. But I love it. I just created the Live and Fulfill Club on Clubhouse. So you can request me. I'm Alisha Small on Clubhouse as well. And if you want to be a part of this personal development club, everyone, but mostly women of all walks of life, no matter where you are in your journey, we are there to inspire, love on you and educate, mentor, and network. I'm really big on networking and making meaningful connections. So you can DM me. Like I said, I'm super responsive. Also, you can follow the Live and Fulfill company and Keyz Kloset on social media as well. We're doing some rebranding and some work on Keyz Kloset, and the Live and Fulfill company's website will be up shortly. And we will be providing coaching services. I am available for personal development coaching, speaking engagements. I do a lot of volunteer work. That is really, servant leadership is really big to me. So I can be also reached at services@liveandfulfilledcoaching.com. You can send me an email, or if you see me on Instagram about any of those services, like I said, I'm super responsive. I cannot wait to hear from you guys. I love you guys. Thank you so much, Amy, for having me. I'm like super appreciative and grateful for this opportunity. Any opportunity that I get to connect with someone and then connect with other people through that person. And I hope I helped. Like I said, servant leadership is really big for me. So I hope that something that I said helped someone in some way, or made someone take a step that they were scared to take. I hope that it helped you. Oh, and also we are starting back this the third season of the Living Fulfilled podcast. I have a lot of special guests coming on, so that's going to come in the next couple of weeks. And that's where you can find me. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate you. I had an amazing time.
Yes, yes, likewise. Thank you so much, Alisha. This has been a wonderful conversation. And you know what? I could hear you for days, like just sharing your wisdom and your experiences and just relating with you. It's just so wonderful and beautiful. And thank you so much for taking the time to share all of this with us today. And yeah, everyone, if you want to learn more, find Alisha Small on Instagram and Clubhouse. She will be, she's in this live today, and I'm gonna post all the links in this, like as soon as we're finished today, I'll have all the links added to the comments down below. And also this will be later on our YouTube channel from WeConnect. And it will be also broadcasted everywhere you get your podcasts, on Spotify, iTunes, the whole deal. Thank you again, Alisha. I can't wait to hear season 3 of your podcast, because it really is very inspiring. You are so inspiring, and I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your day and beautiful week.
You as well. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Talk to you guys later. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Have a great day.